Hi, everyone, and welcome to Behind Your Eyes, Season 9 and Episode 4. And the lovely Roxy is my guest today. So, hi, Roxy, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hi, Suzanne. Thank you for having me on your show. I'm very excited to chat with you. So, a little bit about me. I am a life design and inner transformation coach. I work with people, I work with spaces, and I work with environments in
Mm.
order to change the energy in people's lives, in people's spaces. So, we do that through, I do that with energy work with biofield tuning, which is using tuning forks to calibrate your energy in your body, as well as Reiki and spinal energetics. And I also do work with spaces as well and designing and creating flow and creating an environment that will be supportive to you and your lifestyle. So that is me in a nutshell. And I am an avid traveler, and I love traveling and experiencing new places and energy in new places. So I'm always experiencing new energies on the road as well.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about that a bit later, but I always start
Yeah,
with
yeah.
the same question, and that is a sincere, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Things are rolling along. Things are falling into place for me. I always follow my energy, follow the opening to what wants to happen, to what wants to come forth, even though you may have a plan in your mind and you kind of marry yourself to that plan. I always try to be open and curious and see what wants to come through me. So I'm in this phase right now where I'm transitioning in places, which also helps me with sparking my energy and my creative flow.
Mhm.
So I'm currently in Poland, as I mentioned to you. I'm going back to the States and to Tulum in Mexico. I feel drawn to that place right now, so I will be doing some work down there, and yeah, we'll see how life unfolds for me. But I'm still practicing my work with clients online, and I will be connecting with people down there as well to expand in my field.
Mhm. Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because just recently I just figured out how essential it is to be flexible in business,
Hmm.
but basically just in life to be open to what comes your way and what feels good. Because I always had like a set structure in my mind, like how I want things to go, but it doesn't always go like that, and something better even comes along, and you have to go with that. And so for me, it's quite a lesson still to work with that flexibility. But I see you've already, managed that a bit in your life.
Yeah, that I totally get you. I feel you because I was like that too, and you kind of become hard on yourself because something's not working out, or
Mhm.
you wish X, Y, and Z was working out and it's not. And it's just an opportunity to take a step back, zoom out, and see, okay, like what wants to happen, what wants to flow through me. Get
Yeah.
out of your mind and into your heart and feel into what's right for you and what feels
Yeah.
good. And even though that moment may feel uncomfortable, there's a reason for it, and maybe
Mhm.
it's at the time, maybe there's some things that need to be buttoned up, or maybe our energy is off, or not aligned to that thing yet. So I approach that with a lot of contemplation and respect, where that wasn't always the case.
Mhm.
I would be the person that was, upset, or um, get down on myself that things weren't working the way I had envisioned them. But
Yeah.
it's good to have a plan. It's good to have an action plan, but it's also good to follow your energy.
Yeah.
And women specifically, we operate on a cyclical energetic wave. So sometimes we may feel like we have the energy to do something, we have that creative flow, we
Mhm.
have that exciting energy, and things are just coming through. We're channeling through our word, or through our art, through our business, through how we show up. And sometimes we need to hermit a little bit and take that
Mhm.
introspective perspective in, you know, replenishing our creative juices and really taking care of ourselves, which is really important.
Mhm. And do you think that flexibility also has to do with like a sense of self-trust?
Yeah, absolutely. Trust is huge, and that took
Mm.
me a long time to. I'm still learning that
Yeah.
trust, right? We're creatures of wanting to have control. That's what it all comes down to. We can have control. We always have control of how we respond to a situation. We don't always have
Mhm.
control over what happens to us, but we can always come back to our central selves through meditation, through breath work, through like calibrating and giving ourselves the space to go inward and
Mhm.
learning to trust that things are happening for you, not to you. That we do live in a friendly universe, even though
Mhm.
that sometimes it doesn't feel like that. Sometimes it feels, you know, everything's falling apart. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now, and there always has been, but um, there needs to be, I'm not saying there needs to be, but sometimes there's chaos so that there can be order, so that we
Mhm.
can shake things up a little bit in our lives to take an inventory of you know, where we're going, what's working, what's not, and to really reevaluate our own values and
Mhm.
our character and our relationships, our careers. I've had multiple pivots and earthquakes in my life that have led me to opening other chapters in life. And at the
Yeah.
moment, they didn't always feel good or feel right, or they felt like I was a victim of, you know, something. And it just, there's that level of trust. Okay, things needed to be shaken up a little bit so that I could repivot and
Yeah.
um, go inward and to really heal the things I needed to heal, to address the things that weren't working for me, and at an internal level and external level as well.
Mhm.
So, for example, I've been in this cycle of taking on jobs that weren't serving me, and after the third round of leaving my job, I finally said, okay, like this is a pattern for me. I need to really reevaluate what it is that I want to do in life and how I want to do it, and make a decision to follow through.
Yeah,
So
because
trusting in, yeah.
sorry. Now, I would love to learn a bit more about how you got into, well, what you do now and into energetics, energy healing, and energy design as well. Yeah, I would love to know a bit more
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah, I'll start with actually energy design, because this has always been something I was interested in from
Mhm.
even in high school, from watching like HDTV and watching design. I've always had
Mhm.
an eye and this like innate desire to make things pretty and
Mhm.
have good energy. So I didn't even know that that's something I would be doing. I did want to go to school for interior design, but that didn't happen. And this idea came back to me years later, that this interior design didn't have to look like a conventional interior designer.
Mhm.
So after I started getting more into my own process, my own healing, and my work, which happened in college, the
Mhm.
gateway being meditation, yoga, and then you start to chip away at these layers, and you get into like the deeper work, and you really
Mhm.
start to feel changes and the work really doing amazing things from within. So I started to combine personal energetics, personal
Mhm.
trauma shedding, personal shadow work, personal inner child work, to observing how we respond in our spaces, how clutter keeps us contracted and keeps us in frequency of anxiety, and sometimes the way things are organized in the house, in
Mhm.
the through the lens of feng shui, isn't isn't working for how we flow, and how we maybe get creative, or how we
Mhm.
sleep at night, and how we rest. So I take a whole holistic approach to working with bodies and spaces. And as I mentioned with travel too, we're constantly, if you want to move your stagnancy, the best thing to do is go for a walk, go on a
Right.
trip, take your car, take your dog, go somewhere, and even deeper, go on a trip somewhere. And that's when you also learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah, that's
That's
why
how
they
you
say
learn.
depression hates a moving target, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it gets you moving, like, right?
Yeah,
You can't escape from certain things, but you can go inward
yeah.
and really give yourself the space to become more attuned and self-aware and see what's really going on inside.
Yeah, because I read a quote on your Facebook post that said, I saw firsthand the primary role that energetics play on our well-being. And I love that quote.
Hmm.
Could you tell a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we're all energy. Everything is energy. And even if there's something going on in our lives that we're not aware of,
Mhm.
sorry, my dog is here. Yes,
He
yes.
wants to be on the
Um,
on the show.
yeah, she wants to be part of it.
She's so
Um, yes, honey. Um, so we're all energetic beings, and sorry. And the primary thing is to tune into that energy, because sometimes we may be in the state of overthinking or
Mhm,
analyzing, and we ignore the things that really want to be addressed. Our heart frequency, which is the voice of our feelings. It's how we relate to other people. It's how we feel emotions. So sometimes we may be blind to the fact that we have an inner voice, and that voice is constantly speaking to us through energy, through tension in our body, through dis-ease, which is
mhm,
through disease, but which is actually dis-ease because of stuck energy, because of stuck emotions. And our bodies are really intelligent. They want to move, they want to release, but we're so contracted at times because of a lifetime of conditioning, or the way we were brought up, the way we related with our parents, and our early in our childhood, we learn about the world and how we exist in it. And we build on top of this initial seed of tension or discomfort, or maybe our sense of self-worth, or our sense of being loved or not loved in our families, or in our relationships. So all of this, or unresolved ancestral trauma, there's something that I recently discovered even within myself
mhm,
after years and years of doing energy healing work, that like generations back, something
mhm,
happened that is present in my life. So this is how energy works. This is how, if we don't address it, if we don't bring that flow and that resonance into our internal operating system, our
mhm.
energy, it will run on autopilot and rule our lives until we decide to do something about it.
Mm. And where do you start when it comes to energy healing? Because it's a broad topic, of course, and there are many ways to do
Yeah.
it, from Tai Chi to Reiki. And where do you start? But first, let's say you want to start in your home. How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you start with clearing that energy?
Yeah, I always start with inviting people to become still and quiet and start listening, start practicing that self-awareness,
Mhm,
because we have so many distractions in the world, including our phones, the news, the media, TV, even um, what we choose to distract ourselves with. So whether it's, going out and partying, or having our vices,
mhm,
that is a constant distraction of our inner voice. It's quieting down our inner voice, so we're not able to hear it because there's so much going on. So having
mhm,
some sort of self-reflective, um, self-awareness practice is the gateway, because then things are going to start opening. You're
mhm,
going to start feeling different things in your body. You're going to start hearing that inner voice, and um, certainly getting support around healing from people who have the tools and who have been in the game for a little bit, and they know how to hold space for someone. So
Yeah.
you can certainly do these things yourself, and it takes practice, it takes commitment. That's
Hmm.
one of the hardest things to do, is to commit to yourself to hold some kind of practice. It's like going to the gym, right? We
Right.
have to show up and we have to do the work. No
Yeah.
one else can build that muscle for us but ourselves. It's the same thing
Yeah.
with energy healing, and really listening. That's what it's all about. It's actually restoring our original frequency that is already there, but it's just covered with all this stuff like
Yeah.
trauma, circumstances, fears, beliefs, things going on in the world. Us falling off of a bike when we were little might have an effect on us that we don't even realize, like that
Hmm.
the world is not a safe place, or I'm risk averse because I don't want to get hurt. And
Right.
that runs in the background in bigger decisions in life.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
um
Yeah, because you've
yeah.
mentioned like trauma has a tendency to get stuck in our body. And of course,
Mm-hmm.
that affects our energy. So how can you work with that and go a bit deeper?
Yeah, so really tuning into any tension points in the body. So, for example, you're completely new to energy work, but you have constant headaches and lower back pain. So, really quieting down, putting on some high frequency music, some 438 hertz, which is a healing frequency. And then your mind will start to slow down. Your brain waves are going to start to slow down,
Mhm.
focusing on your breath and focusing on that point of tension and really allowing yourself to go deep into meditation. It's almost like a self hypnosis,
Mhm.
and tuning into that body part to see what's coming up, if any emotions, if tears want to come through, if you start yawning, or if you feel
Mhm.
discomfort. And you can start having that inner dialogue. Okay, what's actually there? And you may start having visions of, people or circumstances in your life, and it's there for a reason. Our minds
Mhm.
could be thinking of anything in that moment, but that particular thing is showing forth. So that is information. Tears are information. Yawning is information.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
Discomfort is
your
information.
body is constantly talking to you.
Yeah, yeah. So we just have to give it the space and the conditions to heal.
Yeah, and to listen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And
Really important.
also, I would love to know if, say, you're moving to a new house, to a new home, and the energy feels a bit off there. You just feel it when
Mm-hmm.
you step into a room, like, there's a bit of unsettlement there. How do you clear that room?
First, you definitely want to tune into, if you're moving, you definitely want to feel into the energy. You want to feel into the light, the lightness of the room. If there's light coming through, if there's, or light up Palo Santo and go through each room. And I also do some Reiki symbols in each room, and set intentions and clear each space with the affirmations that were taught in Reiki, um, to clear the space, to bring forth an energy. Well, first you clear the space, you uninvite anything that doesn't belong, any stagnant or energy that has been left by previous owners and years of previous owners.
Mhm.
You do that with every room. And then you want to clean the space, physically clean the space, so that you're starting fresh. You're sweeping the floors in a metaphorical and a physical sense. And then on the next day, or even later that day, you can set intentions to bring in good energy, bring in good light. You can bring in sound. So I also cleanse spaces with tuning forks and sound. You can lay out plants or rose petals in each room just to set a good tone and energy and frequency. You can tune into the colors that make you feel good. Usually lighter colors, more uh, balancing colors are great in the bedroom so that you have a relaxing and easeful and peaceful sleep. So tuning into what makes you feel good, not necessarily what someone says, oh, this looks good, like this, red color looks good here. You feel into if that feels good to you. There are people who resonate with more vibrant colors, more action, more fire energy, and then there's other people who want more water, more air elements into their space. So
Mhm.
feng shui is also a great gateway into understanding what makes you feel um, good in a space, relaxed or alive, or if you want creative flow in that space, if you have an office and you want to spark that active and energizing energy. So you can set intentions for every room and
Mhm.
bring in elements of earth, air, fire, water, ether, wood, metal into each of these living spaces. And I
Mhm.
do this in houses and on the road as well. Um, yeah. There's energy moving
Mhm.
when you're on the road as well. So I always like to bring that up too.
Yeah, because you mentioned before that you love travel, and
Hmm.
that you also say that it's travel is like the best way to learn more about yourself and to grow as a person. And I really couldn't agree more. But yeah, I would love to know, yeah, your view on that as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll tackle this with from two different avenues. So one is in a more introspective sense that traveling really reflects back to you who you are, what you're ready for, how you relate with people. If you are stuck in a stagnant routine back at home, if you're
Mhm.
comfortable stepping out of that routine, if you're open to spontaneous experiences, all
Mhm.
of this is information for how you handle these experiences. Or even if you're accepting of people living differently than you, how you respond to that, if you're willing to immerse yourself in that culture, or if you're in your old tracks and
Yeah.
sticking to your same routines at home. It's an excellent way to step away from your everyday environment, from those habits and routines that are running on
Mhm.
autopilot, to stepping away and really taking a look at them from a distance and say, okay, is this how I want to continue living? It's always Travel is always a catalyst for change, because so if you're on vacation, I don't know if you've ever had this, but I've had that many times over many years. Like, man, I want to live like this. This is
Yeah.
how I want to live.
Yeah.
And then you go home and then you step back into the same pattern, and then
Yeah.
that vacation bliss kind of fades, and then you need a new vacation or another destination.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happens to all of us. It's psychological. And for years I always said, okay, like, how do I make this long term? How do I
Mhm.
live like this? It doesn't I'm I've traveled a lot and I'm pretty nomadic, but
Mhm.
you don't have to be to bring this uh flow and bliss into your everyday life. You
Mhm.
just have to reflect on what's the energy you want to bring back home,
Mhm.
and is it the flexibility to work whenever you want? Is it the flexibility to be close to nature? Is it um, being spontaneous and having excitement every day? So those
Right.
elements is something that we can reflect on and analyze how we want to incorporate that into the daily.
Mm.
um, Travel flow sparks creative flow. So if you feel stagnant in that sense, it's an amazing way to get the creative juices flowing, to step away and to start writing or start drawing or start journaling and your inspirations and your thoughts and your breakthroughs. So
Mhm. Yeah.
so that's something that I've for years wanted to incorporate into my own personal life. And after the third time I quit my job, my corporate job, I said, okay, I can't make this mistake all over and over again. I really have to structure my life and my style that's going to support me and my energy and how I want to show up and be in the world. And how I want to help people.
Mhm.
And yeah, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
After many years of traveling, going to work and then quitting so I could travel again and coming back so I can make more money. And I said, okay, something has to change.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. And so from another perspective, I like to look at um, getting away. Is
Mhm.
it, this is a self-reflective question or point. Are you trying to get away from something? Are you
Mhm.
trying to go inward, get away to go inward, or are you escaping?
Right.
Because that's something that people do as well.
Mhm.
You know, you escape, you um, you start feeling good in the vacation mode, and then you go back and you don't make any changes. You either do or you don't.
Yeah.
So that is an opportunity lost, if you ask me, because you're falling back into that same trap or
Yeah.
same thinking, same mindset, even though you had that spark of breakthrough
Mhm.
when you're traveling, when you're away, because your energy's moving, because your energy's flowing,
Yeah.
because you're interacting more with circumstances outside of your everyday. You're
Mhm.
being challenged, you're meeting new people, and every person along your path, this is my personal belief, is they're giving you something. Everybody is giving you a nugget of wisdom, or is a reflection for you to see where you are, or
Mhm.
is teaching you something in one way or another. So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful for everybody that I meet along the way, and um come across, even if it's like a 5-minute taxi ride. I still remember a taxi ride that I had in Utah. The guy was unbelievable. He was such a manifester. He's like, "Yeah, you know, like I'm just positive and things are happening like
Mhm.
to me. I like you're my 200 customers, so Uber is giving me a $200 bonus." We're
Wow.
like, "This is amazing." So he was like to me this like beautiful ray of light in an Uber,
Mhm.
showing me exactly how quickly and easy you can manifest by changing your energy, by being receptive and open and grateful, and just happy and joyful and thankful that you have clients,
Yeah.
not being okay, like life's terrible, I'm an Uber driver, like I wish I had $1 million in my pocket.
Yeah.
You know, it's all about, like I said, how we show up. And I'm not
Mhm.
saying it's easy to do. Sometimes life gets the best of us,
Yeah.
and we have to give ourselves that space and that moment to feel into the anger or discomfort, and do it in a supportive way, not when we're lashing out onto other people around us, but really
Yeah.
tune in and say, okay, I'm here for myself. I'm going to give myself this day or this evening and really tune into what's going on here, because it's usually not the surface level thing. It's always layers deep.
Yeah. It's quite easy to dismiss like the so-called negative energies because
Mm.
we don't really want them. We want to prefer to
Yeah,
ignore them. But yeah,
yeah,
it's the key to actually embracing those and asking yourself, okay, what is this trying to teach me here?
yeah. That's what we call spiritual bypassing, right? It's when everything's
Mm.
love and light and
Right.
peace and love, but it's not like that. We all have many layers to us, and sometimes anger, sadness, anxiety, that's all information. That's all you know, things that are stuck within us that want to be healed, and maybe over the years we've suppressed them, or we don't have the avenues of expressing them in a healthy way, or maybe we don't have um certain beliefs about ourselves that you know, we're we're worthy of something, so we're angry or we're jealous, or um we don't feel loved if someone's not spending time with us. So all of these things, we all have them, and um allowing yourself to lovingly be in those lower vibrational frequencies, it's okay too.
And do
And
you
I
have
think
a favorite? Sorry.
yeah. No, we don't have to pretend like everything's okay all the time.
Mm, that's for sure. Yeah. And do you
Yeah.
have a favorite self-care routine?
Yes, I meditate twice a day, usually in the morning when I am in the theta states, so in between
Mm,
sleeping and waking up. So that's usually a great time to self-program, self embed certain things into your life, affirmations or new beliefs, or like reprogramming our um, things that we're working on.
mm,
I practice tuning forks on clients quite often, so I also receive when I am working on people, because we're in a field together as well. So when I work with clients, it also calibrates my energy as well.
mm,
I do a lot of self-care and self embodiment work and body work, because energy is expressed through our physical body. So massages, I try to get them at least once a month. I try to go for walks. I'm a big nature lover, so making sure I'm, walking every day. I also listen to high frequency music, so or even meditations. You can find those on YouTube.
mm,
Anyone can have access to them. Um, this is a difficult one for me, but I try to drink a lot of water, but sometimes
mm,
it's not it doesn't work out how I want it to. But yeah, those are my go-tos,
mm,
and I hold space for people, but it's really important to know that the people who hold space get taken care of as well, because you have to. Just because you are a therapist or a coach or a practitioner or a massage therapist, those people need care as well, and um, energy has to move for all of us.
mm,
So yeah, whatever practices people have that are their favorites, which is important for it to be enjoyable
mm,
and lovable, so that you want to come back to them, right? So
yeah.
if there are people who have a hard time with meditating, maybe a walking meditation or a walking affirmations is better for them. They're more dynamic. But let
Mm.
me ask, what are yours? What are yours?
Meditating. Yeah, that's one of my favorites. Just trying to calm myself, go back to that core that that you talked about. It's always
Mm-hmm.
that silence within myself, looking for that. Because as you said, life is so hectic around us. And when you get back to that core and you feel
Mm-hmm.
that sense of calm and peace, like, oh yeah, that's where I'm meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
it really sets the stage. It really sets the stage in the morning. So
yeah.
I would ask our audiences here to kind of do this little experiment for themselves. Do a couple, say 2 days or 3 days, where you're meditating and you're setting intentions for the day, and then do the other three where you're not, and see how
Mhm.
you feel and how your day goes. Because if we wake up pissed off, and then we wake up, we're making our coffee or our breakfast, this all um, gets expressed in our food, in our coffee. I try not to cook when I'm angry, because, or like frustrated,
Mm.
because it's going to come through in my cooking, in the meal.
Yeah.
When we cook with love and enjoyment, and send good vibes and a blessing to our food, it automatically creates this different frequency.
Mm.
And it's something that we can start also incorporating. um, there's a study by Dr. uh, Masuru Emoto, I believe. I may be messing up the name, but he did a study on water
Mm.
and rice. Have you heard about this one?
No, no.
Okay, so he has had 3 cups of rice filled with water. The
Hmm.
1 cup he spoke negatively to, so sent bad vibes, like said you were ugly, you're not pretty, you're not
Mm.
deserving. The other cup he left alone. He didn't do anything to it. And then the third cup he sent good energy to, said, I love you, said, you're beautiful, you're pretty, and thank you. And the rice that had negative energy rotted first. It had a lot of mold in the jar. The middle jar that was ignored had a little bit. So even when we ignore our body, it's 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 not as good as if we were saying affirmations to ourselves. So
Yeah.
the third cup had expanded. The rice had grown and expanded.
Wow.
So same thing goes for us, right? When
Mhm.
we speak to ourselves kindly, when we self-relate in a positive way, when we honor ourselves, we expand, our energy
Mhm.
expands, our biofield expands. When we heal, we expand. And when we surround ourselves with negativity or negative self-talk or self deprivation, we contract, and it creates more disease, more friction, more tension. Same thing when we ignore, when we don't take any self-care. It's not as bad, but it's still not good. So it really surrounding yourself in these rituals, in these everyday loving moments or moments of kindness or self-care rituals is really important. And I feel like over the years we've been taught that self-care is a luxury, or that I can't afford self-care.
Mhm.
You can. You just have to prioritize it. It doesn't have to be expensive. Self meditation you can do on your own. You can do yoga by yourself. You can reflect on yourself. You can always uh, put on YouTube and do some affirmations, or study something that brings you joy. You can always play in the garden. All those things are free,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they bring us back to ourselves.
Mm. Well, it's time for my last question because our session is almost over, but I would love to know, when are
Yeah.
you at your happiest?
I'm happiest when I am in nature,
Mm.
either on the beach or in the forest, when I am with someone that I love, or even by myself, just really connecting to the moment, when I'm not thinking of the have tos, when
Mm.
I am um, creating. So, by creating, I mean when I'm creating with other people, and that's in their energy, when I'm able to help someone become more self-aware, or we reflect or have a breakthrough. I'm happiest when I'm in spaces too. I love being in spaces and really designing spaces that I know will make a change or a shift in someone's life. And um yeah, when I'm flowing. I'm happy when I'm flowing, but I'm also happy when I'm resting in nature and reflecting on my own life and my own energy in like the beauty of a sunset, or
Yeah.
in the sounds of the forest.
The things that are free.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so
Yeah, the
much
things
for
that, yeah.
today, Roxy. It was truly a joy to talk
Thank
to you.
you.